let's head off to camp, and while the sun is shining, we'll return back to the manor later. For this episode, we're doing something just a little different. We're taking a look at Camp Sunshine and Sunshine Manor, but we're going to put them both together for a review here. We're catching up with Camp Sunshine. It released back in 2016, and now we're on the new Sunshine Manor that just released this year. So we're trying to take a little look, get our heads in the universe surrounding these games, and then kind of get through what we enjoy, what we don't. But we're going to begin this off with Camp Sunshine, and just what were your first impressions of this one?
Well, man, Camp Sunshine starts off very fast. You're on your way to this, what you think is a nice camp, and as you go to bed the next morning, or in the middle of the night rather, you wake up to all hell has just gone loose, man. There's gore, there's dead bodies. You are left not knowing absolutely anything, and that's a huge part of both of these games, is that it's a lot about you figuring out what happened and how to just get out of this mess that you're in.
It is quite a horror scenario. It's almost like those slasher movies in the 90s. It's that level of flashy violence. And there's this kind of big bear looking man. He's wearing a costume, I think, and just starts laying waste to everything. But it is a really good intro to a game that doesn't really offer much more narrative beyond that. You're tasked with going around the map, exploring different cabins, different areas in the woods, to acquire all these clues that tell you more about the backstory, the characters, yourself, and all of the surrounding people. But other than that, it's not very descript. There's no objective marker, there's no waypoints, there's a bunch of journal entries, but it's not exactly that you can read them and know where to go. It's just very loose that way, but it plays to the strength of this game because it is, at its base, a two-dimensional investigation game. It's a mystery horror.
And in Camp Sunshine especially, it's all about you discovering these diary pieces and kind of piecing together what happened to this camp, who is Isaac, and what happened to his father. And all these names will come to, they'll make sense as you play the game, because I don't really want to spoil too much, because, as you said, this game, although there's not a lot of, narrative points, in fact, there's no voiceovers, it's all dialogue that you have to read. But still, once you get into these diary pieces and they go into these sort of cutscenes, we'll call them, it really just opens up to this supernatural kind of side of things that I really actually enjoyed.
Oh yeah, there's a huge element of kind of the spookies, we'll say, just to keep it light. But there's a lot of these horror elements going on, and you kind of feel for this character. They're just trying to have a good time, just going to camp to kind of turn around a negative summer, but oh boy, is it an adventure on its own. It's kind of unfortunate for me, though. There's not much in the way of action, so to speak. You can't really fight back, and that does lead to some good gameplay moments where things will legitimately startle you, and you must now run for the bushes. But at some points, I would have liked to have turned around and kind of flipped that on the bad guy. But it's the feeling of the game. I can't fault them for where they've gone with it. And it's a little different when you get to Sunshine Manor.
This is where Sunshine Manor, you find out that you actually carry magical abilities within you. And that's where, again, this game varies.
Yeah, you have the ability to cast some sort of power. You begin with some sort of psychic ability, but there's costumes you find very early into the game that give you a tweak on that power, whether it's electricity or fire. And that's actually really clever because that determines how you interact with the environment. And that solves a lot of these mysteries, a lot of these dead ends that you run into, because it's a big haunted mansion, and it's a little difficult to remember where you're going, but in contrast to the Camp Sunshine, I found Manor was much more fluid. It made a lot more sense, and I could remember, okay, well, there was something going on with the stove, and it was easier to get back there to progress the plot.
As you solve and help some of these ghosts throughout the story, you actually get to go to another realm, and within these realms you get great audio and music and just a really creepy and yet kind of funny, settings and stories to go along with them.
Kind of this alternate reality little pocket dimension of sorts. It kind of resembles a gory level of hell, maybe, but it's home to these kind of benevolent enemies that have done stuff to the people that lived in this manor or your friends, and that's kind of the big bad to conquer, is these ghost entities. I feel like we've kind of dug into the story as far as we can go without giving away elements or spoilers, but there's a lot of other things to these games that we can compare. First thing that comes to mind is the graphical ability. The Camp Sunshine is quite this toon-bit. I'm not sure if it's 16-bit or greater, but it's got that kind of look to it, and that was very characteristic for the game. I think that fit the mood of what it was trying to do. You get into Sunshine Manor, and it looks quite different, just a little bit updated. It kind of has that pixel effect, but it's not as pronounced. You move on to the audio, and unfortunately no voice acting of any sort, really, and there's only a few tapes that I can think of that you listen to in Manor that have any sort of voiceover, but it's much more to be desired, really, and that's true across both games. When you get into the gameplay elements, there's a lot to do in Camp that kind of doesn't come across the same way in Manor.
Yeah, I found with Camp Sunshine, there's almost more survival elements where you have to find food to heal yourself, or you have to find batteries to maintain light for your flashlight. So, unlike Manor, where that's not a thing at all. You don't have to worry about food. The way you heal is by going just to save points. And then again, in Camp Sunshine, you have to go to a bed, in which there aren't beds in every, cabin or building. So that's one thing you always have to take note of. But ultimately, man, I really actually enjoyed my time with both of these games. They are both 100% worth checking out. So I think we have to score these now.
Again, I mentioned we're going to put these two together and kind of give them a score overall. I have to kind of give my lean to Camp. I enjoyed Camp Sunshine just a little bit more because of the setting, I think. But then again, when it comes to Manor, the gameplay, how you interact with the world, and the world being more memorable, it was a little easier to get into. So I'm kind of mixed, but two titles really did impress me. It wasn't something that I was expecting, and I think they nailed the mark they set out to do. I'm there with an 8. I really enjoyed this.
That's awesome, man. I must say, my experience was probably a 180 to yours. I enjoyed Manor just a little more than I liked Camp Sunshine. Manor, it just felt like it was a little more cleaned up in some regards. I do wish that there was a fast travel system like they did have in Camp Sunshine. That made navigating the map much quicker. But I really, once you got into that first realm and you start solving some of these puzzles, Manor just really stuck out to me. And it was just the story, maybe it just resonated with me more. So for me, dude, these both are going to get an 8.
The Sunshine series of games are horror mystery done masterfully. Eerie themes and gruesome violence surround a dark and emotional story. It is one-of-a-kind satisfaction.